Just before we begin, no pigeons were harmed in the making of this arroz con gandules. Thank you for your attention. Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marta and I am the chef and author of Sense and Edibility, a site where I teach you everything you need to know because it's everything I know about cooking, baking, and cocktail making. And today's video is all about teaching you how to cook arroz con gandules, or Puerto Rican rice with pigeon peas. If it seems like I start every video this way, it's because I'm teaching you all of the Puerto Rican recipes that are staples in our cuisine. Arroz con gandules is one of those dishes that again shows up at the table every time there's a celebration or a party or something to gather around. Today's recipe is all about this lovely rice. If you are new here, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button so that you can subscribe to my channel. And also don't forget to sign up for notifications so that you can be notified every time I post a new video. But in the meantime, let me show you how I do this rice. I don't know why I'm talking like that. First things first, let's deal with meat. I always add meat to my arroz con gandules because I want it to be filling. Usually I use center cut pork chops that have a bit of fat on the side. For some reason, Butcher Man thought that giving me this crap, look how thin that is, was sufficient. I'm mad I paid for this. All right, pick the two least miserable looking pork chops and grab a chef's knife or boning knife and carve away the bones and whatever hard cartilage you may find in your pork chop. You can use the bones for soup or whatever you use bones for, but cut down the pork chop into a 1/4 inch dice, which just means cut it into 1/4 inch squares. Make sure you keep some of that fat because fat is flavor and it's going to add some flavor to our arroz con gandules. Now, if you don't eat pork, you can always substitute boneless, skinless chicken thighs for this. Add your meat to a bowl and set it to the side. We're going to make a spice blend from adobo, sazon with culantro y achote. Achote is annatto and it just gives the rice a orange color. You're also going to add onion powder, granulated garlic powder. I don't know why I'm holding it so long. Dried oregano leaves and black pepper. Use a spoon or a whisk to stir these until it forms a well-combined spice blend. You can also make this up to a week ahead and just save it in the pantry. I add a heaping teaspoon of this spice blend to the pork chops just to season it, and I save the rest for the arroz con gandules. Now for the rice. I always use long grain rice, which is here on my right. Typically, arroz con gandules is made with medium grain rice, which is on the left, but I don't like it. So, you always have to rinse your rice. Rinse it in cold water because look at how cloudy that water is right now. That's all excess starch. If you add rice to your arroz con gandules without rinsing it at least 3 or 4 times, all that starch that you see in the bowl is going to be in your pot, and that's what makes your rice gummy and sticky. So again, I rinse mine at least 4 times. You can rinse it 3 times, but you'll see as I rinse it that the water will get clearer and clearer. That again is starch that you're removing from your rice, which would end up making your arroz con gandules sticky and gummy. Watch the before and after. Check it out, check it out, check it out. Before, after. See? Okay, let's talk gandules. It doesn't matter if you buy green or brown, just buy a can of gandules and you need to drain it. And every can of gandules has 1/2 cup of liquid. Watch. Bam, told you. So you're going to add the cooking water to this liquid and tomato sauce to the same liquid, mix it together to form the liquids and set this aside. In a caldero over medium-high heat, you're going to heat achote oil or olive oil. If you use achote oil, your arroz con gandules is going to be super orange. Brown the meat for about 2 to 3 minutes and then stir in that rinsed rice. What you want to do is coat the rice grains in oil and toast them for about 2 to 3 minutes. Next, you're going to stir in some fresh sofrito, and I have a recipe for that on my channel. You're going to saute the sofrito for about 2 minutes over medium-high heat. Pour in all the liquid, the tomato, gandules, and water, and stir that in to combine it well. Follow that with a spice blend, the olives and capers, and chicken bouillon, which just adds more flavor but is totally optional. Add the gandules and bring this liquid up to a boil. You want to boil it until the rice starts peeking through like that. And when you stir it, it should sound like this. Stir the rice and decrease the temperature to low. Go ahead and flatten it out so that the surface is smooth and lay a piece of heavy-duty aluminum foil over the pot. Press the lid down and fold up the foil and steam the rice for 20 minutes. And don't lift that lid. Magically fast forward. And mira que fancy. Look at your arroz con gandules. It's fluffy, it's beautiful. Use your spoon to fluff the rice and turn the stove off completely. You're going to return the lid to the caldero and let the rice just chill out for 10 minutes. That's usually the time I'm screaming at my kids and my husband to come and help me, or they're not going to get no food. Cooking the arroz con gandules at that higher temperature at the beginning is what helps create pegao, or crispy, slightly charred rice at the bottom of the pot, and that's coveted amongst many Puerto Ricans, so don't skip that part. You can serve this arroz con gandules for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I love to top mine with a fried egg for breakfast, but however you want to enjoy it, that's up to you. Who the hell is slamming doors in my house? Did you hear that? No, hold on. As you can see, this arroz con... Oh, shoot. Okay. So, let me answer some frequently asked questions I get about this recipe while I clean up this mess that I just made. Okay, thanks. Yeah, well, that was a really... Okay, that question went by really fast. Okay, hi. This has to be one of the biggest questions that I get. For people that are not Puerto Rican or not familiar with gandules, gandules are not pigeons. They're not from pigeons. There's no pigeon involved in this recipe at all. Pigeon peas, that's the name of the legume or the pea or the bean that is used in this recipe. Some people say that it got its name because that's what pigeons used to eat a lot. That's really the only explanation for it. Gandules are actually from the subcontinent of India, and also they are a very popular legume in African cuisine. Enslaved African peoples brought it to the Caribbean on their involuntary trip that they were forced on to the Caribbean and further on into the United States. So that's how we have gandules in the islands. No pigeons are in this recipe, unless you want to add squab, something I would totally recommend doing. I mean, I would try it. Yeah. But yeah, no pigeons. A lot of times people do refer to this as Spanish rice, but that is a misnomer because there's nothing Spanish about this. I guess the fact that people that speak Spanish make it, but rice is from Asia. The gandules are from the Indian or African continents. The seasonings are Puerto Rican. So this is Puerto Rican rice. It's not Spanish rice. That's just, I mean, I just wanted to clarify that. Thanks for asking. Arroz con gandules is commonly made with medium grain rice. Some people use short grain rice. I am not a fan of either one. I don't like the way it looks. I don't like the way they taste. Medium grain rice is just harder to chew. And that doesn't matter if you cook it for a very long time or not. Texturally, it just has a firmer bite or tooth feel to it than long grain rice does. Long grain rice is longer. Because it's longer, it's thinner. So when you cook it, when you steam it, it becomes fluffier and to me tastes more tender. Now that's just my personal opinion. If you want to make your arroz con gandules with medium grain rice, by all means do so. But if you make it with long grain rice or extra long grain rice, it doesn't make it any less arroz con gandules or any less Puerto Rican. Truth be told, a lot of us have left Puerto Rican communities I, for one, spent 6 years living in Germany where medium grain rice wasn't easy to find. I've lived in places like El Paso, Fort Hood, Texas, where you either had to go to a very ethnic market in order to find medium grain rice, or you just had to substitute. So I have been making my arroz con gandules with long grain rice for decades, and nobody has ever complained that it doesn't taste good because it's rice. It's all the same rice. For me, one is more tender than the other when it's finished, but either way you look at it, it's not that serious. So if you prefer medium grain rice, use medium grain rice. If you prefer long grain rice, use long grain rice. Don't fight about crazy stuff. The world is dramatic as it is. I can't tell you the amount of times I have gotten a comment on this recipe on my site of somebody telling me that this is not the way their abuela made her arroz con gandules. This is going to come as a shock to a lot of you. I wasn't raised in your abuela's house. So your abuela did not teach me how to make arroz con gandules. My family taught me how to make it. So it only makes sense that we don't all make our arroz con gandules the same way. And that is okay. We really do need to be freed from the bonds of believing that we all have to cook the same way. Because we don't. I promise. If you don't like using tomato sauce, don't use it. Just replace it with more water. It's not something that it's not serious enough to fight about. I promise it's not. So yes, you can omit the tomato sauce if you don't want to use it. Yeah. If you are a person who doesn't eat pork, you can always replace the chuleta or the pork chops in this recipe with boneless, skinless chicken thighs. I don't recommend using boneless, skinless chicken breast in any recipe. I mean, there's very few recipes that I will recommend boneless, skinless chicken breast because it is the driest cut of meat that you can ever use. So I typically don't use it. If you don't like dark meat, of course you can use boneless, skinless chicken breast. You would use the same amount, about a cup, or I think it was about 300 grams of the meat, dice it up. Hey, if you don't want to use meat at all, you don't have to. This is just the way I make my arroz con gandules because I like mine to be, I honestly like my arroz con gandules to be a meal in itself. Total transparency. This is my favorite thing to eat for breakfast. I'll heat it up, probably fry an egg and put it on top of arroz con gandules and eat it for breakfast. Anytime there was leftover arroz con gandules as a kid, that's what I was eating in the morning for breakfast. So that's the reason why I like adding meat to it, because if I decide that I want to eat it for breakfast, it's filling enough to do that. If I want to give it to the kids for lunch, it's filling enough to do that. If you want to serve it strictly as a side dish, you can omit the pork chops altogether. You would still make the spice blend. I would probably reduce the amount of adobo in the spice blend to just 2 teaspoons instead of a full tablespoon, because you don't have that meat to kind of sop up the extra sodium, if you know what I mean. If you want to make this into a vegetarian or even a vegan arroz con gandules, you're going to have to omit the meat, obviously. And the chicken bouillon, you would just get rid of that altogether. You can replace it with vegetable bouillon base, which they sell in the soup section of the grocery store. You could also, if you're using chicken stock in place of the, well, obviously you wouldn't be using chicken stock because you're vegan. So, I mean, you just take out all the meat stuff. Replace all the meat stuff with either vegetable stock or water. Remove the meat completely from the recipe and it'll be vegan. I know many people are passionate about their dislike or loathing of olives and capers. My children are some of those people who despise olives and capers. I couldn't care less, because if they cooked it, they wouldn't have to worry about it. But since they don't, guess what? You're gonna get olives and capers. You can pick them out. I like adding olives and capers to my arroz con gandules because it provides umami. which is that kind of mysterious other taste that nobody can quite put their finger on it, but it's amazing. If you're not a fan, you can omit them altogether, or you can cook your arroz con gandules with them and just kind of pick them out like my picky kids do. Your arroz con gandules is hard because you didn't allow it to cook long enough before you covered and steamed it. I am shocked at how traumatic rice is for some people. Now, granted, I've been cooking rice for probably longer than I've been mature. So I want to help people fall in love with making rice. The water in the caldero should be almost nearly evaporated before you top it with the lid. Wait the full, this usually takes 8 to 10 minutes. I've seen it take up to 12 minutes, that cooking down the water before you steam the rice. Just be patient with it. I know a lot of times it can freak you out because you think the bottom of the rice is going to burn, but remember, pegao is real. We love the crispy, slightly charred rice at the bottom of the caldero, so that's actually a good thing. You want it to dry out a bit on the bottom. Wait until you see the rice peeking through the top of the liquid. When you go to fold it over, you should hear that newspaper rustling sound. That's how you know your rice is ready to be covered and steamed. Make sure that you lay the foil on top of the caldero before you press the lid down. My daughter used to do this thing where she would wrap the foil around the lid and then put the lid on. But you shouldn't do that because it doesn't allow for you to create that mold of the foil between the lid and the rim of the caldero. So lay the foil on top of the caldero and then press down the lid, and then you can fold it up if you want to. That's how you create a super tight seal. And even then, you'll still see some steam escaping from the caldero, but you will know that the majority of the steam that's inside the caldero is just recycling itself. It's billowing over itself and it's steaming the rice completely. That's how you avoid hard rice. The other way to avoid it is to add the correct amount of liquid. If your rice comes out too hard, the way to fix it is just to add a half a cup of liquid, put the lid back on and steam it for another 10 to 15 minutes over low heat. Then taste it again and hopefully it's good to go. But remember, the way to avoid having hard rice is to allow that rice to cook until the water is nearly evaporated before you start steaming it. One of the worst things you can tell a Puerto Rican woman is that her man is cheating on her. And then the second worst thing you could tell a Puerto Rican woman is that her rice is amogollado or sticky. Maybe that's not true. Arroz amogollado is like when the rice is just mushy. It means that you've added too much water to the pot and it's turned the rice to mush. So here's the thing. If you read the back of your rice bag, it's going to tell you, one, it's going to tell you don't rinse your rice, which is crap. Don't listen to them. Two, is going to tell you you need to use twice the amount of water to rice. That's bogus. Don't listen. I know they're the rice company. I don't care if they're the rice company. I think that their plan is to set you up for failure, have you making nasty rice so that you have to go out and buy some more rice. That's my conspiracy theory and I'm sticking to it. Don't listen to the rice companies. What you need to do is rinse your rice thoroughly, okay? For one, rice contains inorganic arsenic. So why wouldn't, I want to rinse it just because of that. Now, granted, there's still going to be a slight amount, but you're going to get rid of most of that. You're also going to remove tons of starch. You saw the way the water looked when I rinsed it the first 3 times. That 4th time was a charm. So if you don't rinse your rice, guess where all that starch is going to end up? In your caldero with the rest of your rice, and that's what's going to end up making your rice amogollado. So first things first, rinse your rice at least 3 times. I always do it 4 times just because that's just the way I do it. But After you rinse your rice, the next key step in making sure you don't have mushy rice is using the proper amount of liquid. My rule is always this: however many cups of rice I'm making, that's how much water I need to use or liquid I need to use. So I'm making 3 cups of rice here. I'm adding 3 cups of liquid. Now my liquids are the liquid from the can of gandules. I don't know why I said can. The can of gandules, the water, or you can use chicken stock, and the tomato sauce. Those are all liquids, right? So I just combine them and then I toss them into the pot when it's time to start cooking the rice. And I mean, it's not amogollado, it's not sticking together, it's nice and, I'm gonna make a mess, I know it. It's nice and loose, fluffy. Don't listen to the rice companies. I am telling you, I'm your friend, right? You trust me. The rice companies are setting you up for failure. Don't read their instructions. Don't even pay attention to the back of the bag. Don't do it. You trust me, because I care about you. And I care about your rice. I don't want your feelings to get hurt. We got enough to deal with than to deal with amogollado rice. We don't want that. Yeah, I use that liquid because it has more flavor in it. Some people say that they have to drain the liquid because of all the sodium. Guess what? The gandules have been sitting in that liquid for God knows how long. Yes, you could probably reduce the amount of sodium, but I mean, I'd rather have the flavor and deal with my blood pressure later. So just drain off the liquid from the gandules into the water. I guarantee, I'm not going to guarantee, but I bet it's a half a cup. It's always a half a cup of liquid from the can of gandules. So half a cup of liquid plus 2 cups of water plus half a cup of tomato sauce, 3 cups to 3 cups of rice. Bam, solid. To me, I don't really see a difference between green gandules and brown gandules. I just buy whatever is on sale or whatever I can get. Do not allow people to make you believe that you have to go out of your way to find a particular type of pigeon pea. Like, buy what's on sale, just get it. I mean, there's brands I won't buy, but that's neither here nor there. You can use frozen gandules for this recipe. You can add them to the rice while they're still frozen, but what you want to do is add another half cup of liquid, whether that is water or chicken stock, whatever base, like whatever the bulk liquid that you're using to steam the arroz con gandules in, you want to add a half cup, because remember, you're not going to get that half cup of drained liquid from the can if you're using frozen gandules. Same applies if you're using fresh gandules. You're going to add an additional half cup of cooking liquid. To store your arroz con gandules, you just wait for it to cool down, transfer it to a food safe storage container, and put it in the refrigerator for 3 to 5 days. What I like to do, especially if I make a big pot, is I, serve whatever I'm going to serve for dinner, and I transfer the rest to a freezer safe storage bag, and I freeze it for up to 6 months. Rice freezes amazingly well, and to thaw it, you just pull it out of the freezer and put it in the fridge, thaw it, and you can reheat arroz con gandules in the microwave for 1 minute to 1.5 minutes. I usually sprinkle some water in there to keep it, nice and fluffy, and just put a lid over the container and microwave it on high for 1 minute, 1.5 minutes, and you got fresh hot arroz con gandules. I usually serve arroz con gandules with chuleta frita, which is fried pork chops, which I have a recipe on my site for. Or you can serve it with baked chicken. You can serve it with fried chicken. You can serve it with, this is a side dish, right? It's supposed to be a side dish. But you can also serve it as a main course because it has the pork in there. Top it with a fried egg. I'm telling you, that's clutch. Breakfast tomorrow, after you make arroz con gandules, fry, an egg sunny side up, pop that bad boy on a pile of arroz con gandules. Life changing, promise. Do it, won't regret it. The pot that I make my arroz con gandules in, and the same pot that many people use, is called a caldero, which translates to cauldron. So basically we're a bunch of witches. This is essentially a Dutch oven. So if you don't have a caldero and don't want to buy a caldero, which I'll link down in the description box below, you can always use a Dutch oven. Just make sure that it's about 4 to 5 quarts or larger, because you want to have room in there to, you know, turn your rice over before and after steaming. And you don't want it to fly everywhere. So use a good sized caldero or Dutch oven to make your arroz con gandules. You definitely want to have a pot that has a heavy bottom. You don't want a super thin bottom, because remember, we're going to be evaporating that liquid. And if you're using a thin bottom pot, then the bottom is going to burn, and not in a good way, pegao burn. And once the bottom of your rice burns, the rest of your rice is gonna taste like poo-poo. You don't want that. This should be what you send your kids off to college with, is a caldero. Because you can make anything in this bad boy. You can make soup, farina, like cream of wheat. You can make rice. Everybody needs one of those. Swap out the water for coconut milk or coconut milk and water. Do 1 cup of coconut milk and 1 cup of water to have a mild coconutty flavor. They also sell gandules in coconut water, so you can use that instead of regular gandules. It just gives the arroz con gandules a bit of a coconutty flavor, which is tasty. You can swap out the water in this recipe for beer, your favorite lager or ale. It's gonna make like a arroz borracho con gandules, drunk rice with pigeon peas. Again, you can swap out the pork for chicken thighs, boneless, skinless chicken thighs. You can use diced, cooked, cured ham, but you're definitely gonna wanna cut down the adobo in this recipe to just 1 teaspoon if you're using ham, because ham is so salty that if you add the full tablespoon of adobo, is gonna be inedible. So just use 1 teaspoon of adobo if you're using cured ham. You could replace the arroz blanco, the rice, the white rice in this recipe for brown rice, but you're going to need to add an additional cup of water or chicken stock, and you're going to need to steam it for an additional 10 minutes for a total of 30 minutes, because brown rice is much harder because it's not polished, like it doesn't have the husk removed. So you're gonna have to cook it longer because it's gonna be firmer if you don't. So I think that's it. As you can see, arroz con gandules should not intimidate you. Anybody can make arroz con gandules. You just need to know what to look out for and what to be mindful of. And mainly that is patience. You have to be patient when it comes to evaporating the liquid in your arroz con gandules and steaming it properly. If you follow these instructions, you will have success each and every time you make your rice with pigeon peas. I am going to link the full recipe in the description box below, along with, some of the tools that I use in this recipe. I hope you try this recipe at home, and if you do, please let me know what you think. Also, let me know if you made any swaps. I'd love to hear about it. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel and don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you can get updates whenever I post a new video. And in the meantime, I'm going to go and eat my arroz con gandules by myself because my family doesn't know that I made it. And I will see you on the flip side. Peace. Remember when we used to do that? We used to be like, peace. Every time we took a picture, peace. I'm gonna poke myself in the face if I don't move this. I gotta situate myself. I promise that there's gonna come a point where you guys are going to click on one of my videos. I'm gonna be sitting here in sweats, no makeup, and I might scare the crap out of you, but it's hard to look like a civilized, decent human being every time I do one of these. I just want to be me. Now my liquids are mixed up. What's that on my finger? What is that? I don't know. I have a splinter? Yo, okay. I use the liquid from the can of Gandules because it has gandule flavor. Gandul flavor. The singular of Gandules is gandul. I don't like the way that sounds. That sounds like somebody from Lord of the Rings. Gandul. Anyways. Oh my gosh, my allergy. You guys, if you have never lived in Central Texas during mountain cedar season, my sinuses, my throat is itching, my sinuses feel like there's an elephant sitting on my sinus cavity, and I have so many cedar in the back of my yard that when the wind blows, it just like puffs of like death are like coming towards my house. I hate it so much. I burned myself.